I think courage should come with a warning label. It may make you sweaty and it may make you nauseous. It may lead to heart palpitations, sweaty palms, sweaty feet. I have all of that right now. But courage leads to opportunity. And in my experience in life, being courageous leads to opportunities to then continue to be courageous. When I lived here in Trinidad, I was into fashion and I was into beauty, but I didn't fit the mainstream standards of those things. I remember I wanted to model, and I remember a local designer told me that I have a beautiful face. However, if I wanted to model, I would have to lose more than 20 pounds. And there were years where I really carried that around with me, and I allowed it to make me feel less than beautiful. I went from being an overweight teenager to being a bulimic teenager. And then I became a sullen and unhappy young woman who didn't want to wear nice things, didn't want to be beautiful, and just kind of fought that because, that was what I was being told by society. And then something interesting happened. I got sick of that feeling. Okay, so somebody told me that I can't model for them, or I can't wear their clothes. There are other designers. There are other runways. You can make your own runway, right? There's more clothes out there, and there's a wider world. Women like me exist. We are here. We are just as beautiful as anybody else, and we deserve to be celebrated for who we are. Courage will lead you to do crazy things, like that. So, courage will lead you, it led me, to post that picture on my blog. That is me wearing a bathing suit. This is something that I avoided for years. But I did it because I wanted other women to feel the way that I did, to have courage, to know that you too can go to the beach, you too can wear a bathing suit. And yes, maybe people might say things about you, but you have to find your own swimsuit confidence. That was the name of the post. I got hundreds of positive comments, and the one negative comment, it's right there, came from a Trinidad IP address. Yes. So I got comments from all around the world, and the one that came from Trinidad that stuck with me was that I had let myself go, and that I looked like Barney the dinosaur in my bathing suit. And I let that take me right back to being that teenage girl and to feeling that pain and that rejection because of my size. Courage doesn't mean that you don't feel fear. It just means that you could analyze it better. It means you have a perspective on it, and having that perspective on it helps you to know how to deal with it and how to master it. I remember the first time that I felt true fear. It was in a hallway in Bishop Anstey High School, which is where I went. I know we have a couple of students and teachers here. All right. I was 16 years old. I had done some big, scary examinations. You all know the ones. And the results were posted in that hallway for everybody to see. I did not do well in the subjects that take you places in life. I didn't do well in maths, didn't do well in science, didn't do well in the foreign languages, didn't do well in principles of business. I still don't know what principles of business are. And I remember that feeling of standing there and wondering what the hell was going to happen to me. I was with my parents. I remember looking at them and knowing that I had let them down. I remember the peers of mine who were there, not all of them like me, and I remember them looking at me and smirking and watching to see, what is her reaction going to be when she sees that she didn't do well. I remember that it was also exacerbated by being in that surrounding and just that feeling of my destiny is not in my own hands. What am I going to do with my life? And it makes sense that as something that I remember so vividly, and I can share that so vividly with you because it was a pivotal moment for me. I had to suck it up. I had to stand up tall. I had to put on a brave face. And I had to tell myself that I was going to be all right. I have to come up with a plan B, that's all. I always wanted to be a writer. That wasn't something that was necessarily taught or encouraged in school. We didn't have like creative writing and short stories and that kind of thing, but that was something I did on my own. I used to write under a pen name. They had a teenage section in the Trinidad Guardian. It's called The Zone. I don't know if they still have it, but I used to write for The Zone. I used to write under a name. I called myself Icky Freaky. I don't know why I came up with that. But I'd write these very dark and angry poems about my feelings and stuff like that. And I would actually get letters and stuff like that, and that encouraged me. That made me want to keep going. A friend of mine, her cousin lived in the States, and she would send down this magazine, and the magazine was called Sassy. And Sassy was a great magazine. We used to pass it around in class, and it was just different. It was a breath of fresh air. It didn't come from this informed perspective. It was relatable, and it was real, and it was honest, and it was fun. And even though that wasn't my life at all, and I wasn't in that culture, I was reading about American culture and fashion in the 90s, it struck a chord inside of me. I was like, I could write like this. This is something that I can identify with, even though these are not my experiences. I started reading Rolling Stone magazine, which I became obsessed with. I'm still with to this day. And there's a film critic in there. His name is Peter Travers. And I decided I wanted to be Peter Travers. I want to be a film critic. And I went to my parents. Thank God I have the kind of parents who support unorthodox dreams. I went to them with like a case. I made a case for myself. I brought all my SAT information. I had a list of colleges. I had all the things that they needed to see that I wanted to study film, and that for the first time in my life I was serious about something. And they supported me in that vision. And I was able to go abroad and study abroad. And that's what really helped to change my life and make me into the person that I wanted to be. I didn't know any successful writers in Trinidad, or at least people who were truly making a living at being a writer. It wasn't something that I grew up seeing. So it was something that I had to create for myself. I hope all you don't mind, I have a little flashcard hidden inside of here that helps me keep track of where I'm supposed to be. If I had done well in my exams, and if I knew what that life was, that Patrice is actually an excellent Principles of Business student, if I didn't know what it was to lose all of my friends and have to make new ones, if I didn't know what it felt like to be an outsider, I wouldn't have left my dark bedroom of fear. If I knew what it was to be skinny and perfect and seen as such, and to be just plucked out of the ether for my beauty from an early age, and if I didn't have to find it for myself and know that pain and that struggle of creating your own identity, I wouldn't be Afrobella. Courage comes from fear, and struggle leads to growth. Without those experiences, I wouldn't be able to identify with all of the women around the world who have been able to identify with me. I wouldn't have recognized that we were looking for a wider reflection of ourselves. And I wouldn't have trusted my gut instinct. And that was the real thing. Courage is looking inside yourself, recognizing, I have things to say, I have a valid opinion, and I can't be the only one. And like I said, creating your own runway, creating your own platform. That's what the internet has truly allowed me to do. Dreams do come true. And sometimes when they do, they are bigger, they are crazier, they are more challenging, and they are more rewarding than you ever might have thought they would be. I want to prove that you don't have to be a hypersexualized singer or a half-naked rapper to be an internationally famous Caribbean woman. You can be who you are. The world can respect you and appreciate you for your talent. You just have to have the courage to let it shine. When I think of courage, there's a picture of myself that comes to mind. I'll tell you the story before we show the picture. My husband and I, we live... you put the picture up, put the picture up, put the picture up. All right. All right, let me get there. So, my husband and I live in America, and we like to go on these road trips. I love driving through America. There's something just so vast about it. And this particular road trip, I had already started my blog. This was the summer of 2007, and I had already started to see the effects of starting my blog. I started to see, I was getting recognized. I remember being at the grocery store, and some woman was like, "Yo, Afrobella." I was like, "Oh my God, what is this thing that is happening to my life?" So I knew I was on the cusp of something different and new, even though I was still at a desk job at the time. So this road trip, we were going between Lake Tahoe and Las Vegas. And that particular road is just everything that you see and you hear them sing about in America, the beautiful, the purple mountain majesties and the sweeping vistas. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And we were driving along the banks of this river. And my husband is like, "I want to get out and go down and see this river." I was like, "Okay." So we parked up on the side. I didn't think he was going to actually want to go down in the river. But he did. That's what he wanted to do. That's what boys do. So we parked, and he was like, "Okay, let's go." And he goes down this embankment like a billy goat, like nothing. And I'm standing there at the top of this thing like, "Okay." And he's like, "Come on down." I'm like, "I can't do that. It's too steep, and there's too many rocks, and I'm not wearing the right shoes, and I'm scared." And he said, "Patrice, you can do it." And he waited for me. I really thought about telling him, "You know what, just take some pictures now, I'll see it later." I said, "No, I want to go. I want to try. I want to see." I used my hands, I used my feet, and I climbed down by the river with him. And we walked along, and we looked at the fish and took some pictures and stuff like that, and it was cute. And then it was time to come back up. And when it was time to come back up, I realized what I had done. I realized how slippery it was. I realized that the sand was not packed as tightly as I thought it was going to be, and that I could well down and hurt myself if I tried to do this thing. But I had no choice. I was at the bottom of the river, and he's up at the top. So I had to do it again. I used my hands, I used my feet, I used my hands, and I used my feet. And that is what you see right there. When I came up at the top, I did that. And he took that picture, and that picture has become kind of a symbol for me. That is how I always want to feel about everything that I do in life. That's how I want to feel about every piece of writing I put my name on, about every appearance that I make. Anything that I do, that's how I want to feel. That is the fire that keeps me going. So, in Trinidad, we have our annual celebration of Carnival. And Carnival is a beautiful thing. It is drinking, it is debauchery, it is dancing, it is culture, it is color. And even though I am 33 years old, born and raised here, I never played mass. And when all my schoolmates and stuff would talk about, you know, what section they're going to be in, and I'm going to wear this, and I guess in this glitter, and I would just act like, "Yeah, that's not my scene, I'm not on that." I wasn't into Carnival. I was going to Bago with my family, or we were going to get a beach house, or we had other plans. And then as I got older, it got easier because I was abroad, so I could say, "Oh, college," or, you know, classes, or whatever, or work, you know. Always a culprit keeping me back from Carnival. 33 years. None of those things were true. I always believed that Carnival is for skinny. Carnival is for the skinny girls. Carnival is for those girls who want to be seen in beads and a bikini, and that was never me. I let my own fear keep me back from participating in the biggest cultural ritual of this, of this country. And the irony is, I have this blog that inspires people to trust in themselves and to believe in their own beauty, and I still have my own fears that are holding me back. There's one more photograph. I don't know where the clicker was going. Anyway. Every year I make a New Year's resolution, and the New Year's resolution is usually to do with my blog. The New Year's resolution is usually to be a braver blogger. And yes, that is me in my work environment up in Chicago. So usually it's about something that I haven't pushed myself to do before. I don't like public speaking. I don't know if y'all picked up on that. I'm a writer. I'd always rather be behind the scenes. I also, I don't really like doing television, and that's something that I'm being pushed to do more and more. It's something that I've turned down in the past because of fear, because the camera adds 10 pounds, don't you know? And somebody told me something interesting years ago. They said, did Oprah wait until she lost the weight? I was like, no, she didn't. So I've been pushing myself to do more things like that. I've been pushing myself to shake off that veil of fear and to recognize that maybe by putting myself out there, I will be inspiring somebody else who is looking for that reflection of themselves and looking for that confirmation. So this year, instead of being a braver blogger, my resolution is to be a braver person and to set an intention like you were talking about. And the intention is to live life with intent. I don't want to let life just happen to me. I want to step forward, and I want to be my best and push myself to do the things that I've been afraid of. And the thing that I'm most looking forward to trying is Carnival. I look forward to coming back here and playing Mass for the very first time. I might not be in a G-string, but, but I'm going to do it on my own terms. So that's the fear I look forward to facing the most. Thank you, Trinidad, for making me who I am. Thank you, TEDxPortofSpain, for this exercise in courage.